Hello viewers, welcome to the YouTube channel Lex Consilium Foundation. And here I'm in conversation with Senior Advocate Sudhish Pai, who, as known to you, is one of the foremost legal historians, apart from having a brilliant legal mind. And his book, Legends in Law, is recommended for all law professionals. It would definitely encourage and equip them to attain higher positions in law. Sudhishji, I am talking today about one Sir S. Vardachariar. His case, his profile is included in your page starting from 221, and he was there between 1881, that was the year of birth, and till 1970, and he is said to be indicated in your book as one of the keenest legal minds and astute and successful he was in legal profession, and then he became an eminent judge. So I would like to particularly ask you, you have pointed out that accuracy of speech and language was something astounding in the case of Sir S. Vardachariar. Would you like to please explain that?
Sir Vardachariar is considered one of our very eminent judges. And the statement that you made from the book that he had one of the keenest legal minds
Yes.
is a tribute paid to him by none other than Motilal Setalvad,
Okay.
India's first Attorney General.
The first Attorney General.
Yes, Setalvad says that Sir Vardachariar had perhaps one of the keenest legal minds in the history of Indian judiciary. He came from as you said, he was born in the year 1881. He had a brilliant academic career, but he came from very poor background, financially, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Where he did not have the courage to enroll and start his career as a lawyer. He was with two of the greatest legal minds of Madras in those days. His father-in-law introduced him to Sir Bhashyam Iyengar,
Okay.
who was Advocate
Yes.
General, one of the greatest lawyers and judge. The relationship between Bhashyam Iyengar and Vardachariar was such that even far more seasoned seniors envied that relationship. And after that, he came Sir Shivaswamy Iyer, an equally great lawyer, who noticed his talent when some new law was being debated in the Legislative Council. And Vardachariar, as a young person, he was a lawyer, he had completed his law but had not enrolled, had prepared a note for Shivaswamy Iyer on the subject of that legislation. And after seeing that, Shivaswamy Iyer told him, no, you can't now have any hesitation. You must join the bar. And of course, knowing his very straitened financial circumstances, he sent him a check for a substantial sum, and assured him that he would guide him, help him, both financially and with work. And that's how in 1905 or around that time, Vardachariar joined the bar. Having been associated with these two great masters, both Bhashyam Iyengar and Shivaswamy Iyer, Vardachariar also picked up their great qualities, including accuracy of expression and language. Apart from, the accuracy of thought, the precision of thought, to put it across. And his arguments, it is said, were very concise, very to the point, logical. And he also had that great quality of, we are all in the habit of putting everything into our pleadings. Everything in the sense you sometimes embellish them. It is said that if you took a draft of a pleading to Sir Vardachariar, one of the first things that he would do is take a pencil and score out every line and word which was not absolutely necessary. So, that kind of precision and brevity, he would put in only what was really and absolutely necessary. The rest of all would be scored out.
Yes.
That was the kind of person that he was.
That comes with a very keen mind, very sharp mind, and long practice.
Yes. That kind of a dedication, the profession.
You have further said that Sir Vardachariar, it was said of him that he did not depend much upon the preparation of his juniors, and he believed more in studying the case, including all connected documents himself. Would you like to elaborate on this?
Yes, that was said to be his quality even the notices on the High Court notice board, he would himself read and do whatever was required to be done by a lawyer. Normally, the clerks do it, but here the lawyer himself would read those notices and do whatever was
Yes.
necessary. Many juniors, of course, briefed him also for the reason that they would benefit sitting with him, hearing, watching how he prepares, discussing with him. But it was his quality that he did not really require any kind of assistance. You hand him the papers and he would do all the preparation himself. So the juniors, the only benefit they had was to sit next to him when he argued and watch him. So that in one way was a disadvantage for the juniors, but I don't know, that was his style of functioning. He didn't mean that the juniors should not be guided or anything, but to some extent, the juniors were the losers because they did not have the benefit of a conference with him. And even books, I understand, he would not trouble the librarian or the attendants in the library. He would himself pick up whatever books he wanted.
Yes.
And if there were just one or two, he would carry it himself to the court and come back and put it in its place. So that was the kind of person.
No airs about him.
No airs about him. And I have heard this from my senior. I have also mentioned it in the book. Mr. Sundaraswamy, when he was in the law college in Madras, Vardachariar was then, I think, a sitting judge. Yes, sitting judge of the federal court towards the end of his career. And he had come to the law college to address the students. He came in a simple dhoti and kurta, spoke to them for about an hour or so, and then quietly started walking away. The principal ran after him to find out what was his mode of transport and how he was leaving, how he was going, and offered to drop him home. He said, no, don't bother, please stay back, attend to your work. I came by a city bus. As I go out of your gate, there is a bus stop. I'll get a bus which will drop me in front of my house. So this was the federal court judge in those days. Contrasted, I'm digressing, contrasted with the kind of behavior we have in the higher echelons of the judiciary today. I think I should not say anything more. All of us know what is happening, but this is the kind of example.
This is something remarkable, and I don't think in your long practice you would have come across a senior studies the case all by himself and does not depend on any briefing by a junior.
The only other person I have heard of, I have not seen him, he passed away much before our time, is Vishwanath Shastri.
Okay.
Yeah, who was a judge in the Madras High Court and then came to practice in the Supreme Court. So he was there till about, I think, the mid-60s when he passed away.
Yes.
And he was one of those, you could give him the brief, he would do all the work. He didn't require any assistance on facts or law. And of him, no less a person than Vishwanath Shastri fell down from a bus. He would travel from his home to the Supreme Court in a bus. A seat in the front row was always reserved for him. One day he fell down on the footpath as getting down from the bus and had some injury. And Daftari very jocularly asked him, how many Privy Council cases went out of the hole, sir? Okay, that was the kind of...
Okay. Further, I'd like to ask you, you have mentioned on page 224 of your book that as a judge, Sir Vardachariar, he always disposed of the cases after according it full and fair hearing, and he had realized not to deal with the cases peremptorily. This aspect needs to be explained for the benefit of the viewers.
As I said, as we spoke, Vardachariar as a lawyer was so thorough. He knew his facts, he knew the law. So that thoroughness he carried to the bench. Naturally, it was a part of his making, so to say.
Even as a judge.
Yeah, even as a judge, because you don't forget what you have read and studied. And therefore, when cases were called out, he would have read the papers and he knew the law. And he proceeded to decide them. But then we all know that is not how cases should be disposed of. Because the whole system is that you give a hearing to both sides and then decide. So it seems in some very unimportant, innocuous case, a very senior lawyer was engaged. And when the case was called out, he just stood up and said, "My lord, we all know your lordship knows the facts. You're thorough with the law. What remains? Please proceed to judgment." Of course, Sir Vardachariar, got the message. He said, "Sorry, I understand what you mean. Please argue. Heard both sides and then decided. And thereafter, no case did he decide without a
The
fair
final
hearing
word having been,
said by both
yes,
the
heard.
counsel.
Yes.
That's how it should be. And it was not that he did it out of any, I mean, he just did it
Arrogance or something, yes.
as a, it came to him naturally, so to say. But then, as a judge, he had to
Maybe.
be different, and he did. He was a judge in the Madras High Court only for a short time. I mean, relatively 5 years. It was at the age of 53 in 1934 that he was offered a judgeship of the High Court, which he took. And of course, it is at that time that all this. And in 1939, he was elevated to the federal court. He had 5 years in the High Court and 7 years in the federal court. So he had a longer tenure in the federal court. It so happened that he received the telegram of his appointment as a judge of the federal court, and almost at the same time he received another telegram that his son-in-law had died in an air crash. Because it is said
Something
that
terrible, yes.
it is said that he took both these very stoically in the true spirit of a sthita prajna, as the Gita would
Yes.
describe. He said, yes, God has given this, God has given this. Who am I to decide one way or the other? We take both this and move on. I mean, it's very easier said than done, but
Yes. That's how he sort
that is
of
how
proceeded, dealt with
Yes.
that matter,
he's
situation.
patient and proceed. And post-retirement, apart from every other thing, he was on the ad hoc committee of the Constituent Assembly, which framed all the provisions dealing with the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So that's another great contribution. The
Thank
committee
you.
which dealt only with the Supreme Court.
Yes.
He was on that.
Yes.
Of course, after retirement, he lived a long life till the age of 89 or 90 and devoted himself to service in his village, to religious study and all that. Again, exemplifying the simplicity and modesty of the.
Thank you very much. I'm sure this would hugely interest and also upgrade the viewers. And do stay with us. This conversation with Mr. Sudhesh Pai would continue.